Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com or go to our website at head2headpinball.com.
Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball Podcast, episode 16. That's 16 weeks we've been doing this, can you believe it? I am Martin, and with me...
Ooh, Motto, things are going to get easier. Ooh, Motto, things will get brighter. Someday, walk in the rays of a beautiful sun. You know what that's off? Please tell me you know what that's off. You don't? Guardians. We're going to be talking about it today. You shouldn't be watching the movie like this. Guys, if you can't tell, Marty is very loaded already. Okay.
That is absolutely not the case.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wow. We've got a big week to recap, including the big news, obviously, is Guardians of the Galaxy. And as we predicted, within hours of our last podcast, it was revealed.
Yeah, so we're 1 week late almost with our Guardians recap. But the good thing about that is that we can kind of give a more balanced, view of it instead of, a knee-jerk reaction, which is kind of what we had, the day after. We're going to be talking a little bit about Dialed In, Big Lebowski, Aliens, TNA. We're going to be talking about the 24 Hours at the Sanctum and also what we did this week in pinball.
We are indeed.
We'll start off with some corrections or notes on our previous podcast. I got a message from our friend Stacey, and he was a little bit upset that I spent 3 or 4 minutes talking about how I got drunk at PAX. And in all those 3 or 4 minutes, I didn't once mention that I tweaked his nipples. He messaged me and he's like, "Are you serious? He talked about it, and you didn't even mention that." Like, to him, obviously that was the highlight. And I actually totally forgot that I did that. So,
well, you were absolutely freaking smashed. Let's just put it out there for everybody that listens. You were, and because you obviously accused me of being drunk, which is absolute lies, everybody.
Well, you're a different drunk. You're drunk so often that you contain it well, where I obviously don't contain it well, especially when I'm at PAX, where there's just like this psychedelic kind of place. Like I feel like I was on some weird acid trip because you got people dressed weird and dancing and doing weird stuff.
Well, on behalf of the Head2Head Pinball Podcast, we apologise to Stacey's nipple for not having it mentioned in last week's episode.
Oh my God, I'm just looking at the show notes. We have 2 news items on nipples. Okay, that's one out the way.
This is the nipple episode. And the second one was that we did have Dave Peck, so Writer Dave wrote in just to say that some of the stuff that we mentioned last week on the Heads Up Pinball tournament wasn't quite right, and having now watched a lot more of the stream, I can understand why. I did get some things wrong, but it's later clarified. But the good news is that I believe we're going to have him on our show soon.
Yeah, he's still on his little world tour traveling the US, I believe, but he isn't. I think he's on a plane right now, so we couldn't get him on the show this week. But Rhoda Dave, aka David Peck, should be able to get him on the show next week. We won't promise anything because there's time zones, but it's almost the same time zone, right? He's just across the, what's the saying?
Yeah, the sea or something. I don't know. they're the time zone. They're 2 hours ahead of us, a couple of years behind us. Oh, I kid.
I know. You're gonna lose all our New Zealand viewers.
I know.
There's at least 5 of them, right?
I know. Well, he's even bought a headset for us to interview him. So thank you so much. We appreciate your dedication.
And he also said he bought 128 pins or whatever it is, just so he has some content to talk about as well.
So,
just in the last week.
So hopefully we'll have that next week.
All right. So moving on to, we got some news. We got a new code update on Dialed In, Marty.
Yeah, 1.5's been released.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the 1.45, I think it was, that we got to beta test.
We played that, yep.
Yeah, so the main thing that's in there is Chaos in Quantum City, but there are a lot of fixes over the last couple of months. And I was in the Dialed In thread, the owners thread, even though I don't own one yet. And someone, I remember, I think it was Bruce and Ron were talking about how they want to get their ass or their nipples or something like like in selfie mode, to get that up there. And Ron was like, no, it doesn't work because it has facial recognition, and you can only take pictures of your face, and if it doesn't find your face, it'll just do the DIE, Dialed-In Electronics logo. But I saw a picture of someone, I messaged it to you, Marty, that
I did see.
He was playing without his shirt, and when you get a high score, and he got like 21 million or something, which is a very good score on Dialed-In.
Yes.
And as soon as you press end, it just takes a photo kind of unannounced. It doesn't say 3, 2, 1 pose. It just takes it straight away. And it took a picture of his nipple.
I know. Hilarious. So
what does that mean? Does that mean that this guy's face, like his nipple looks more like a face than his actual face?
That's what I was thinking. Like the camera obviously thinks that his nipple looks either close to his face or better than his face. It's the preferred picture. I don't know.
I know. If he's listening, is it JW Junior? I'm sorry. We're making a joke at your expense, but very nice nipple. Your right nipple. Very nice.
Absolutely.
We also got a tutorial from Bowen Kierans on how to play Dialed-In, and it was great. He had a pretty good game. I watched almost all of it, and the main takeaway that I got, because I kind of know a decent amount of the rules, is I didn't know that you can actually choose your modes before you hit the scoop. I thought it was completely random, but it's kind of like Lord of the Rings and Simpsons Pinball Party, where you've got the apps listed on the phone, and when you hit each flipper, it jumps from one app to the other. Did you know that, Marty?
No, I didn't. I haven't played Dialed-In enough to notice that, and that whole, the Bob, all those modes. I'm assuming that's the ones you're talking about. All those ones.
No. I'm talking about the disasters.
Right. Okay.
You can choose your disaster before you start it by, do you know how to choose modes in Simpsons or Lord of the Rings?
No.
All right. Basically, one of them is lit and flashing, right, with like a little insert or an LED. When you hit the right flipper, it'll go to the right. When you hit the left flipper, it'll go to the left. So when you're shooting, say you're backhanding it, you would go one to the left of it. So then when you backhand it with the right flipper, it jumps one to the right. If you were using the forehand or whatever you want to call it, you would go one to the right, and then it would move one to the left because you're using the left flipper.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Sense? Yeah. Absolutely.
So when the switch hits, it's selected on the right one.
Okay. Look, and I probably haven't really noticed because, as I've said many times, I find the modes in Dialed-In to be a bit arbitrary. It doesn't matter which one you're on. You've got to get through them all.
Watch Bowen's tutorial. Some of them are easier than others. EMP is definitely the worst one because it activates the magnets, and it's a lot. It does use the playfield well, and there's riskier shots. So it depends. If you're a really good player and you're using your multiplier, you want your multiplier to be active when you kind of in the easier modes. But then there's also a risk reward because you want to play your easy modes to get the completion, so you can get the SIM card. So anyway.
Well, by this time next week, I will have watched that tutorial. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but Bowen does great tutorials.
Thanks, Marty.
That's all right.
What else we got?
The Big Lebowski. What's news there?
Yeah, this is really just like a one-line news. I just saw a picture of the second Chinese machine has been delivered, to them for their Dutch event. But I don't know. I don't even know why I added that in. Is that really news?
Well, it's progress. Do we know really what it plays like? Is it as good as the previous ones? Who knows? But I mean, at least it's showing a real, something that's being produced by that company. I still don't know how long it's going to take for everybody else to get their machines, though, or whether they will. Every
time I see one of these things, though, now I kind of get not nervous, but everything is like money spent towards their company that is being taken out of the pool of cash they have. They don't want to refund to anyone. So, when I see them in China with a new manufacturer, I'm like, well, I guess you need to go there, but that's two of them there. Flights from Europe, hotels, entertainment, all that kind of stuff. And then you see one of them go by plane, and then another one. I'm like, well, that's $1,500 in shipping and from China, and I don't know. I hope they're not burning through too much cash, but
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's still hard to know. I don't know whether I've got my confidence back yet on Dutch Pinball to deliver these machines, but that they probably have to do that kind of stuff from a PR angle to show people that there is something that has actually now been manufactured by this company. It looks like the machines that have been done in the past, so it's a PR, I'll say, stunt for them to actually get people confident that they're going to get their machines at some stage.
Yeah, and they kind of admitted that they need those new orders to fulfill the old orders. So
correct.
I don't know, but I don't think they're not taking orders direct, are they? Right? I'm hoping it's just through a distributor now, just in case.
Yeah, I'd say so. Look, I've said this before. Like, a part of me, and for our friend Lucas's sake, I want him to get his machine. But I want these machines to be delivered because I got to play it at Sunshine Laundromat, and it's a really, really fun game. I just want more and more people to be able to play it.
Cool. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
Another pinball manufacturer, Highway Pinball. Those 20 machines that were delivered, some people are having issues with them. They're not I don't think they're game-breaking issues, but I think there's a lot of tweaks and stuff, and the communication coming out of Highway Pinball isn't the greatest. Like, I think people that have the alley orders are kind of still waiting, and I'm not sure if Highway kind of has a full list of what is in the alley and what isn't. Some people that have faulty aliens from the first batch still can't get parts. Some people, including someone I know, still hasn't got a full refund. And on top of all that, I'm not sure if you saw it, Mano, but Andrew Highway came on Pinside. He registered a new account, Andrew H. And I don't know why he did it, because he's been kind of like, he did, he said his goodbyes in his last post, and he didn't leave on like a good note per se, but people had kind of like forgotten about it. And he came on and tried to defend himself, because people are now getting kind of a bit more upset again about the whole situation.
Yeah.
Did you read the post? Or
no, I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, he blamed it on a lot of. He didn't blame it, but he kind of said, "Well, these are the difficulties we face," and he was not passing the buck, but he was saying it was hard because people were rooting against us, and there was a guy, ex-employees, doing this, and then he mentioned there was a very popular podcaster, which is, he was referring to Chris Canada, and he was kind of partially blaming him for his company going under. And when I saw that, I thought that was just so fucking ridiculous. I was just like, everyone would think that Chris and Canada is like a fucking idiot if he just delivered the machines, but he didn't deliver any of the machines. So that's when everyone started, start getting second thoughts and getting worried and stuff. I think he was the one who ultimately was the downfall of the company. Yeah. And I find it very weird that things are progressing, slowly, but still progressing in the right direction with the new company. But now this is kind of like just rubbing salt in the old wounds.
Yeah, it is this situation of him sort of blaming Canada. I would say maybe that is part of it, but I think it's actually warranted. Chris was only, reporting on the facts, and obviously he reported on it quite a lot. But I think that he, in this particular instance, because we saw how it played out, and we still don't know how it's going to play out and whether people are all going to get their machines, he ultimately probably saved a lot of people from losing their money, or at least delaying putting money down until there was certainty. So I don't think you can blame him for reporting that. And obviously, companies, they love, as we've experienced, they love it when the media is on your side, and they will constantly report about the great things. But sometimes if you do the wrong thing, the media gets on the bad side, and they will report all the negative things about you in equal spades, and that's what's happened. So it was just the messenger, but ultimately the message was there's something not quite right at Highway Pinball, and it was proven to be correct.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one of his best podcasts, which is basically just, he didn't kind of give his opinions on anything. He literally just played exactly what Andrew Highway had promised, and then it was quite funny to see it all grouped together, where he was promising in 2014 that he'd be shipping early 2015. I can't remember the exact dates, but well, you're right about the whole, people concentrating on bad news. So let's talk quickly about Total Nuclear Annihilation, because they've shipped, close to 20 machines already, and everyone is happy about it. And, it doesn't get kind of brought up in the news, so to speak, or there's not much chatter about it, because it's all positive news, right? This is still a fairly new company. I mean, they've produced a certain amount of pinball machines, but I think in total they've produced less than 1,000. And the owners are happy. I mean, there's a couple of little switch adjustments, and they've already noted that and said we'll make these pop bumpers more sensitive and the slings. And
I was talking to Al Anonymous, who was on my Twitch feed last night chatting, and my biggest. I know we're probably talking TNA now, but my biggest reservation with that was I thought that it might be one of those ones, because the rules aren't necessarily that deep. Well, not they. I guess it probably goes deep because you've got to, destroy all the different reactors, but they're not necessarily complex. Mm-hmm. And what he was saying was that because it is quite linear in your progression, it just has that absolute one more game feel about it, and that's what I want.
Yeah. Plus, apparently, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a lot of strategy. I watched a bit of the stream that Carl D'Angelo did, i.e. Pinball, and you can't just go for jackpots. You can't just destroy the reactor, because you want to get multiple going, and then the reactor value is multiplied by the amount of balls you have, and there's risk reward in going for certain things. And I don't know. I can't wait to play it. I think the Australian orders have been cut off, and I think early January we'll be getting 8 machines here, which is not a lot, but we'll get to play it because
we know someone that's getting one.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Nimmer.
The last bit of news on Highway before we forget. I was listening to another podcast. We're talking about podcasts a lot lately.
We do.
Jeff Giolis's Pinball podcast, great podcast by him, and he was talking to Barry Osler.
Yes.
And he said that at the Texas Pinball Festival next year, TPF 2018, yes, Highway will show their second game. So hopefully they're still around, still kicking goals. We'll get to. They'll be announcing, or hopefully announcing and showing. And he is apparently designing that machine via. He said it's quite difficult because he's not there in the UK, so he's kind of designing it in the US, and then it gets kind of routed out, and they make the kind of white wood there, I believe. So I have no idea what it is. Possibly Queen, but they didn't mention any of that, and that's another cool thing I'll be able to see in person at TPF.
And he's been responsible for some great games. So, and also he's somebody that I guess from history he has tried to do some innovative layouts and design when it comes to geometry. Oh, nerdy. But he's actually done some great games. So I look forward to what he's able to do.
You know who else is going to be there at TPF?
No, tell me. At Texas Pinball Festival?
Yes. Lou Ferrigno.
The Hulk?
Yes, the original and the best. Hey, what does the Hulk sound like? No, because when I think of the Hulk and I want to imitate
Hulk
him,
smash.
I just feel like going. That's Arnold.
Does Sylvester Stallone play the Hulk?
That's Arnie.
No, that sounded like.
Get back to the chopper. It's a different type.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, they really need to do a Predator pinball. I know they're never going to do it. But it's such a.
I know, and that's why.
Can you imagine the get to the chopper bit was like a hurry up, and he just keeps on saying, "Go, come on, do it."
Give me the girl. And that's why, obviously, we're digressing here, but that's why, so many people were in on getting that Predator machine, despite any facts about license and manufacture. It's such a dream theme for so many people.
Well, apparently it was like a turd to play, but it
Yeah,
didn't,
that's what I'd heard.
It said it didn't stop people.
That's right.
Well,
Like-
let's use that as a segue to talk about the main topic today, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy is a big theme, and
Yes.
people are jumping in on this machine simply because they love the theme.
Yes.
And that's the power of a really great intellectual property to launch your machine with. So, Guardians of the Galaxy was revealed this week. And we were right in that it was a Borg, Franchi, Lonnie trio combination thing.
That was probably the only thing we got right.
Yeah, we said 2 Rams, got 2 Rams. We said 3 flippers. That was definitely wrong.
Yeah.
What else did we say? We tried to guess the call out stuff, but that wasn't. We'll get to that later. But that's not. That hasn't been announced yet. So I guess no one was. What was the word, Marty? Gagging for cash.
Gagging for the cash.
I was saying that all week.
I know. And there was a bit of backlash. Someone actually got quite sensitive about the fact that I'd said that those 2 actors were gagging for the cash. And I stand by it. They are absolute B-grade actors. But keep going.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the art. We'll talk about different sections. We're going to talk about the reveal, the artwork, the toys, the layout, the different models, the licensing, potential issues that they have. So let's start with the reveal. So, do you think that the information was presented in the best way it could be versus their other reveals?
Oh, okay. I'll answer that in 2 parts. First one, was it presented in the best way it could be? No, absolutely not. Was it versus their others? Yeah, I think it was actually better than some of the previous launches that we've had. Ghostbusters in particular, where everything was leaked beforehand. I guess from my perspective, the first thing I saw was the video from the AV Club showing, bits of the white wood and bits of the play field. And I just thought to myself, why? Why would you release it that way? And then...
No, I liked it.
But I would have much preferred that to be, actually a populated, machine. Playfield,
well,
so I could actually see.
Okay, it was a teaser to whet people's appetite, get them talking, and it was only about 24 hours between that video and the rest of the information. So It wasn't. If that lasted a week, I would have been the same as you and said, "Well, this is kind of really annoying." But it was just to get people to talk, and it showed a very small amount of the playfield and the art looked quite good. It was quite a funny video because they kind of played it off like it was this beautiful crafted machine. The guy was using a hand drill and he was blowing the sawdust off the machine.
I know.
It was like an 80-year-old that makes fine cabinetry out
Oh yeah,
something.
Somebody that's been making violins and has been handed down for centuries into the family.
That's it. It was cool though. I liked it. It was I'm not sure if it was meant to be kind of cheesy like that, but I liked it.
Well, I think one of the main things that they were trying to show off, and I know we're going to get to art, but they were really trying to show off the art almost like as a separate entity. Forget about the playfield. Forget about ramps and pop bumpers and jets and all that kind of stuff. Just have a look at the art, and we may come back to that later, but I think the art plays a very important part of this machine.
Well, almost not the only part, but this is the weird difference between the way that Stern releases pinball machines, and we're going to talk about JJP again quickly, because a couple of weeks ago at the Chicago Pinball Expo, they revealed their machine and they kind of presented the information, and then literally 10, 20 minutes later, people were playing it, and the code was good enough, and the animations were there, and the sound and the music. We don't have all that information. The way that Stern presents a pinball machine is they show you pictures, they show you a feature matrix, and then you have to sit there and try to digest all the information. And I think what happens sometimes is that people they overhype it. Some people over trash it, and it's just this crazy mix of reactions from people, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle, I guess, because the next day they showed people were complaining about this, but by the time we woke up, we had the high-res pictures ready to go. We're in Australia, different time zone. Apparently they released some low-res pictures of it, and then people kind of discussed that for 5 hours, and then the high-res pictures came out, and it's a pretty machine.
Yep.
No, I don't think many people will deny that. So we're still talking about the reveal. So 3 days later, they showed a picture of the what's it called? The laser cut rails.
Yeah, because one of the things that we, I guess when we initially saw these photos, you see a very colourful machine. That was the first thing that really is right out there, is that it's very colourful. And the other thing that stood out was that the LE had the gold trim that looked a lot like WrestleMania.
The first thing I thought was, oh my God, like leftover WrestleMania stock. And then I brought up a picture of WrestleMania. I'm like, no, it's different. It's lighter.
Yeah.
And then we saw another photo. And I was like, I know, it's the same. It's just in different lighting. So I'm pretty sure what's happened is they've, WrestleMania LE was meant to have, I think, only 400 LEs, and I think it was one of their worst sellers. So who knows how many they sold? No one will ever really find out unless it's a rumor. But let's say, for example, it was 100. So they've got.
That's
well, it's a nice round number.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's say 100.
Let's say 100. So they've got say, and then maybe they order spare parts, maybe 50. Okay, let's say 50 then, right? So 50, and maybe they order 50 spare parts. So maybe they've got 400 400 spare parts left, and that includes legs, back box hinges, lollipop rails, lockdown bar. Right, it's a lot of stock. I don't know how much it costs to re-powder coat something. I know you can just I'm pretty sure you can re-powder coat on top of something, but you can also, like, I think it's called sandblasting, where it kind of takes off all the paint. They just blast it with sand. That's why it's called sandblasting.
Sure.
But it all comes with a cost. So I think people are quite upset that it might not be the best color to suit the machine, and they're kind of just trying to save money. But hey,
it would have looked much better with purple trim, I reckon.
Dark purple, like a galaxy purple.
And I'm only saying that because I read a comment that you made about that.
Yeah, well, did I show you a picture of the people that powder coat their Metallica Pro model? They powder coat this galaxy dark purple, and it looks on Metallica, it looks fucking amazing, like better than the LE. I reckon the LE would look amazing in that. But anyway, the laser cut side rails, people kind of said, okay, well, that's better than the normal ones.
Yep.
I think we just found out about 10 minutes before the podcast is that will actually be an accessory.
Yes.
Which is just a really, so we're still talking about the reveal. It's a really weird way to reveal in the reveal week of your pinball machine. Why would you show a lollipop rail that is better than what's on the LE as an option to upgrade for however much it will be, say $400 or something? Isn't that kind of like a slap in the face for a potential LE owner that hasn't put their money down yet?
Who knows? Who knows what's going through their minds like that? My original thoughts on that were that before knowing that it was like an optional accessory, my original thought was, well, if you think about a photo shoot, a photo shoot takes a bit of time for someone to come in with a camera, do the photo shoot, then do the post editing, and then go, right, here you've got your pictures, and now you're ready for your reveal. And then I thought, well, maybe they didn't have the etched ones done in time, but now that they're an optional extra, I just think that's just put them as part of the LE.
Yeah. And then powder coat them purple. But
yes.
That's the weird thing is the accessories program from Stern to me is very confusing because some pinball machines, the custom cut side rails and whatnot, they're available almost immediately. Like the Aerosmith ones were available pretty quickly.
Yep.
Where's the Star Wars topper? Where's the Star Wars
I was just about to say, where is the Star Wars topper?
Because we know it's coming because it was in the one of the firmwares, like the R2D2 hologram topper or whatever it was meant to be. So who knows? Anyway, last thing about the reveal that they kind of the Straight Down the Middle podcast, Zach and Greg, I'm not sure how they got the information, if Stern gave it to them or they just learned it somewhere first, but there's going to be 2 licensed songs. So originally there was meant to be no licensed music, and we'll talk about music a bit later on when we talk about the theme integration. But It was about 3 days after the reveal, and I thought that was a bit weird, like, to announce it that way and not announce it with the pin. And it keeps you guessing because, as I said, they're releasing information differently than Jersey Jack. So all the kind of the pinball buying market can do is speculate. Why would you not show that 3 days earlier? Did they just sign the papers, like a couple of days ago, or do they want to drip feed in people information for the whole hype train thing to last longer? Or
well, there's additional money that they have to pay for licensed songs. So maybe they did. Maybe they thought they said, right, it's going to cost X amount of dollars to add licensed songs, and each song is going to have a different dollar value associated. I guess they probably would have known exactly. They would have got a quote from whoever has the rights to it. They would have known that that's what it would have cost to add to, let's call it the bill of materials. They would have then released, seen people's reactions to the fact that there's no music, and then gone, okay, well,
let's pay the invoice.
Pay the invoice. We can only afford 2 because it was a mixed response. If everybody had, pitchforks and fire at them, they might have gone, oh, okay, 5 songs. Who knows? But my understanding is that licensed music isn't cheap.
Yeah, and these are old songs, and some of them are very popular. Some of them aren't, but I don't know how much licensed music costs. So, maybe the fact that you don't hear much of some of these songs is because the licensor always wants too much money for it. Who knows? We're just speculating here. And but I mean, if that theory is right, then everyone should just band together and not buy any of the machines, and then they'll just put the whole album in there, right? They'll say, well, shit, we got to do something to sell these machines.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, let's move on to artwork.
Well, before we do, so
Yes.
that was the reveal. What were your first impressions after the reveal? What did you think?
Okay. Well, I've been flip-flopping. I've been doing a Marty flip-flop on this.
Oh, how dare you.
It's going to take a lot for me to get really excited about a new pinball machine because, as I said, we just came off the bat from Jersey, of the Jersey Jack reveal, and the title of that show was Jersey Jack Sets the Bar Too High.
Yep.
Because I was so blown away by what was in there and the passion behind the project. And as I said, you get to see gameplay straight away. So it's almost like a complete reveal to me. And then 1 week later, we were playing it, right? I can't get too excited about this because I haven't seen gameplay yet. It's one of my least favorite coders coding the machine. I love the artwork, but my favorite pinball machines have horrible artwork, so it doesn't mean, it's not a do or die kind of thing to me. A make or break, sorry. I've just been playing Iron Man, so do or die. And yeah, I don't know. We're going to wait like 2-3 months to play this thing, so I can't stay hyped for 3 months.
Okay, well, so then let me tell you my first impressions. And my first impressions, and you remember, the first thing I said to you was, oh my God, we were right. It's Stern by numbers. It's Borg by numbers. It's Iron Man. I said to you, it's Iron Man. And
okay.
if you look at the layout, I think it's closest to Iron Man. I know a lot of people have compared it to Metallica. It might as well be just a combination of both. I thought the art, the side art, the back box art was very colourful, and obviously we know it's Christopher Franchi. So what he does, he tends to use a mix of colours that normally wouldn't go together, but he's obviously worked out this formula where they are contrasting colours that sort of just work together when you put them all together. It's borderline, I'm going to say it, it's borderline clown vomit on the sides. It's very bright. I'm just going to say it, but there you go. And I'm actually I'm repeating what a lot of people have actually said. But it's very bright, and it did remind me of Batman 66, where you've just got these contrasting colours together, which just sort of, I guess, leap out at you.
And you're saying you don't like that?
I'm saying, to my eyes, I'm not loving that. But you don't really see the side art. That didn't bother me. But when I then saw the playfield and the art on the playfield, I love it. I think that playfield looks fantastic.
Okay, well, I want to say that if it's clown vomit, then I want Christopher Franchi to vomit all over my face. It's beautiful. I love
Just vomit?
everything. Just he can do anything he wants to me. Okay, at this point. Okay, it's an open invitation. The artwork on all models, right? And this is the thing. I mean, it's not like you can say, oh, the alley is 10 times better than the Pro. You miss out on the Pro. No matter which version you buy, and I almost think the Pro is the one that I like the most. It looks fantastic.
Yep.
And the pinball machines, some of the side art is so boring. And, this has everything. It has all the characters on there that you want. It has the name Guardians of the Galaxy. It has the Marvel logo. It has like cool art. Bit of hexagon overload. I'm not sure what the relevance of. I watched the movie the other day, but I kind of watched in the background. I'm not sure if hexagons plays a good part in it. I do like it. I just don't know what the relevance is. So the only thing I don't like is the color choice of the side armor, but I think the artwork is beautiful on the cabinet and the playfield. I said I love it as well.
Sure.
As I said, artwork isn't a make or break to me, but the amount of detail he's put into everything. Like you look at Groot's head, the toy is beautiful. We'll talk about that a bit later, but the artwork leading out of it is,
Yes.
The tree kind of thing,
Yep, the roots coming out. Yeah,
him growing out, which kind of represents that moment in the movie where he saved everyone's life. Yondu's yak arrow, which kind of like zigzags around the playfield. You got the Thanos in the middle, with a Magnaforce, and it's got like electricity around him. It's so beautifully integrated.
I honestly think, for me personally, it is one of the most spectacular looking playfields. Just it has this energy about it. It actually just draws you in. It is really good colours. It's really good use of the art around the modes and the inserts. We sort of said it last week when we said, he only had a couple of weeks to do, or whatever it was, to do Batman 66. Imagine what he could do with a playfield when he's got a lot of time. He has absolutely delivered on this playfield. I can't fault it. I think it is I honestly think, and I'll have to see it in person, I think this is the best looking Stern playfield art. I'm calling it right now.
Okay. Well, I thought that Batman was the best. I've said it many times that I think it just looks, I don't like things too busy. I don't mind it. I'm not saying that I don't like Dirty Donny art or Zombie Yeti, but I find kind of the less not cluttered, but I don't like the fine line detail like too much, because when the ball's moving fast, it almost makes me dizzy.
Yep.
But I love this art, and the interesting thing is that when the art is this kind of like detailed, and it kind of makes the playfield look so much more populated than it may be. I don't. It's not an empty playfield by any means, but if that had kind of Star Wars art superimposed over it, you'd say, there isn't that much on there. It's just a couple of ramps and orbits, but it looks feature filled because of the art, right?
Exactly right. And so that's a lesson to be learned with Steve Ritchie machines. And I've sort of said, when people have spoken to me about Steve Ritchie machines and the art in particular, that they aren't as detailed as these. And I think that he goes for that because it's all about the inserts, and because they are fast speed machines, you don't want sort of that detail to confuse what you're doing. But I think there's a really good balance here.
Yeah, and the insert. We talk about the inserts. The inserts actually have kind of like beautiful art on them. Like the multiplier shot isn't just a little X on a big arrow. It's kind of like a hexagon with an X on there, and then each shot that's named Nebula, Rocket, Ronan, etc., has their face in kind of like grayscale on there.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know how you could make it look any better than it does.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I just think this looks spectacular as a playfield goes, as the art of the playfield.
Yeah. The only thing, well, okay, I said you can't make it look any better. The thing that kind of annoyed me, and it's it has already been said a million times before, but the coloured plastic around the left and right outlane, mostly the right. You can't see the ball draining because there's art around the flasher.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that art is like a sticker that might be removable. It might look silly when it's removed because it's like a big piece of plastic there, but generally you don't want the ball to get out there, and you kind of want to nudge. Well, actually, if it's like Metallica, then you kind of can't nudge anyway because they're steel rails, right?
Well, you say that, except for when you're playing Metallica and it looks like the ball is absolutely safe and you're going to go into one of the two in lanes, and then all of a sudden it pops out. And that was made famous by a game that I love, Avatar. And I think Bowen first correctly called it out when he said, "You've been avatared." Where it does. And it's probably because there's a bit of spin on the ball, so it looks like it's going to go into the middle lane and then just grabs the rail and just spins out. So I absolutely agree, and it's one of the things that frustrates me the most is covered out lanes. So things like AC/DC, where the cannon covers the right out lane, that frustrates me because I actually don't nudge. I just go, you know what, I can't see, I'm not going to do anything, I might as well just let it do what it's going to do. Or just give it a big slam to get the ball out of there. I would much rather those things being exposed so you can actually see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a way for them to kind of change that and just put a flasher underneath an insert. Well, it's not even a flasher for a kick out or anything, so I don't even know why it really could be somewhere else. But Stern don't really reveal a pinball machine and make it 6 months later and do a bunch of design changes. So I mean, what you see is pretty much what you're going to get, right?
Well, yeah, and I guess you can see those flashes are actually on top of the slings as well. So it could be like, if one of the great events of, well, I was going to say one of the great events, but the great event of Ghostbusters is when multi-ball starts and everything has that, the red flashing. That's a good effect. So, that could be what they're trying to do with this.
Well, okay, so on the premium and the LE, there's 6 of those flasher domes. On the pro, there is 4 because you don't have them on the slings. But anyway, it's pointless talking about it really because I said I don't think they're going to change it. The cool thing about this art is that it's been stylized in a certain way that you don't actually notice because, this is Marvel, which is owned by Disney. So they'll give you an asset pack and you probably have to use stock images. I don't think they're going to say, here's, 5,000 images of Peter Quill as Star-Lord. You can do whatever you want. You can draw based on, off this. So you might not notice, but Peter Quill, I'm not sure if I should use the word Peter Quill or Star-Lord. The main character, Chris Pratt, the protagonist in the movie. On the premium, for example, he's on there in the exact same pose 4 times. On the left side of the cabinet, on the right side of the cabinet, on the translite, and on the playfield. And I don't think many people notice because of what's around it. Gamora, she's there 3 times, I believe, in the exact same pose, but it's kind of stylized around it differently. The picture of the orb kind of opening up to reveal the Infinity Stone 3 times. But no one's complaining about it because it's amazing. Like he's done an amazing work using the assets that he has to look unique in its own way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're looking at the art as we're sort of talking to each other, and I think you're right. As again, we come back to Star Wars, and we'll talk about Star Trek as well. It's kind of okay to have this imagery, but it's actually what's in between the imagery that can actually make it look fresh. And exactly. Nothing on the playfield looks like it has been reused because of what's around it.
And there really isn't a blank spot where you say, oh, hey, here's a boring kind of, area of the insert. I mean, even like underneath the ramps, you got this kind of amazing art, and it's all clear ramps, which people have kind of been complaining about. They'd rather start in steel ramps.
The hammer trails, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's an advantage to both, and I like Tron because it's a colorful machine and everything kind of shines through.
Yeah, look, it was a criticism ages ago, and in fact, I wrote into Coast to Coast about it as well when we were talking about the differences between pros and LEs. And again, I'm going to talk about Star Trek again. It's my only reference. But the difference between having plastic ramps and wireform ramps is actually quite a bit of a difference in the machines. And wireform ramps just have obviously, by saying it, have a more premium look and feel to them.
Yeah, I don't know. The only metal ramp that I really like is Metallica. It somehow makes this really satisfying sound when it goes on it. But I actually don't like it that much on The Hobbit because of the geometry of that shot. It doesn't have that same. It kind of rattles, and it doesn't have that same sound. Whereas, if you hit Korra and then you hit the upper right ramp, whatever it's called, on Tron, that's a really satisfying shot, and it's like the ball is floating. It's so fast on those plastic ramps, and the sound comes from David Thiel doing the music. You can kind of replace that metal, ball on ball. That sounds horrible. Ball on ball sound. God. Anyway, one more thing we're going to talk about with the art. There is an Easter egg which was revealed by Zach and Greg on the Straight Down the Middle podcast, where I think underneath one of the ramps, or is it the shooter lane? I think it's the shooter lane. There's a quote saying, "You said it yourself, bitch," with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of like one of the defining moments of the movie. And I think that's really cool. Art underneath some of that you'll never see, but if you're cleaning your machine one day and you want to clean underneath the shooter lane, underneath the shooter lane's never dirty. But anyway, it's there. It's cool. Well, as I said, it doesn't really cost them anything more, and it's just a cool little thing to tell people it's there.
It's
you
there.
Can't see it. On to the toys.
The toys. And the main one that everyone talks about is the Groot head. And the arms, I guess, on the premium in the LE.
I think he looks great. I
think that he looks fantastic. And there's a lot of detail on that face. It's and actually on the hands as well. Obviously, we're talking premium LE here. Whoever has done the sculpting of that, and obviously the orb, whatever it is as well, it's really detailed. I don't think there's anything you can really complain about them.
Yeah, in a lot of the recent CERN machines like Star Wars and Batman 66, people have been Googling, and I don't know how they do it, but they find the playfield toys, and obviously they've kind of been modified to work with the machine, but they find the TIE Fighter and the Spring, and they find the Super LE, $7 Walmart toys. I don't think this is one of them. I think this is something that they've made. I don't think a company out there is making a giant Groot head. I could be wrong, but if they are, it looks beautiful. It looks great.
It does look great. There's a couple of things that people have been talking about with Groot. First one is you're shooting him in the mouth, and people are saying, well, that should be reserved for an enemy.
That's
really?
So stupid.
I know.
That's so dumb.
I wanted to bring that up because it's pinball. It doesn't. There's no rules that say if you have a bash toy, it's therefore a bad person. Wolverine was a bash toy. Was that a bad person?
Is the Hammer a bad guy in Metallica?
Yes. How dare you?
Hammer is a good guy.
I know. So there was that.
I'd rather be a good guy. I'd rather in Walking Dead. I'd rather be bashing Rick or Coral.
So I just wanted to bring that up because people just thought it was really odd that you had this Groot head and you were hitting Groot, and he's a good guy. Why are you hitting him in the face? Well, because you can. It's pinball.
He can take it. He's a tree. Okay?
I know. And the other thing, and we're probably talking about art as well but just behind him on the art that's on the back of the playfield, it says, "We are Groot." And, I despair sometimes. The arguing that I've seen in forums about people saying, oh, well, it should be I am Groot, not we are Groot, and people going, oh, well, it's we are Groot because, at the end of the film, he did come out and say we are Groot, representing that we are all Groot, and that he is this, this being that is obsequious, and he can... Oh, fuck me. Who gives a shit?
But this is what happens. I mean, we're almost doing it now. We're going to overanalyze a pinball machine because we don't have gameplay. So the only thing we can talk about is we can overanalyze and just be super critical and super hyped about certain parts of the pinball machine.
But if you're seeing this playfield and we'll get to it. People are sort of saying, it's like Iron Man and it's Metallica and it's derivative and it's everything that we said it would be last week. And then you feel compelled to get to your keyboard and go, I can't believe that they said we are Groot. It should be I am Groot. Oh, come on.
Half of these people don't. They're not even in the market to buy a pinball machine. One, they might not even have enough money. Two, they might have the money, but they're not, as I said, in a position to buy. So it's just it's a million opinions smashed on a keyboard all in one. And the same thing happens to me. Like that day. You almost get a headache trying to absorb all the information.
I know.
Literally, it doesn't even matter. We weren't going to do the podcast for another week. I should have just waited for Jeff's This Week in Pinball, deep dive. Because he literally tabulates all the information, the pros and cons, and he sat there and he read all the same posts that I did. But he just puts it in like a dot format, and that's all I need to read.
Yeah.
What people think about it. And,
we owe a debt to Jeff. He is awesome.
Exactly. He does all of our work for us, but I'm still doing it myself, and I've got to stop. Anyway, the orb opens up on the LE and premium, but it kind of is already open on the pro. Someone told me it looks like a testicle. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely shriveled. Yep. Absolutely agree.
So a cold testicle.
Yeah,
a giant cold testicle that's been exposed like ash or something?
Yep. I'm just having a look now just to compare. Yep. That looks about the same. Yeah.
Marty's old balls confirmed. Okay. So the arms.
Yeah.
They don't exist on the Pro model.
Mm-hmm.
On the Premium and the LE, there's these big, beautiful, giant hands. But the main criticism, I said people are criticizing, but they haven't seen it in person. Do they block the view to the shots, to the right ramp and the left kicker?
Well, I think they probably do. I don't think that's a game changer. I think, and my understanding is that they move as well. So
No.
that's what I've heard. Anyway,
No, that's a joke.
But I think the balance here is that you're better off for having them. I think they look great.
Yeah, I personally don't like pinball machines that block, like Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like when I really want to hit that move your car middle center shot, I get down like level with the pinball machine.
Yeah,
like,
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, I did it a lot the other day, and I play better because if I can see the shot, and I'm sure there are better players than me that can make up. They just choose a part on the part that's blocking it, like one of his fingers, or maybe one of the LEDs or artwork on the ramp that's blocking it on Creature, and they say, okay, I'll go for that, and if the ball hits there, it'll go on to hit the shot. But I'm not at that level yet, so I'm on the side of I don't like them if they are going to block the shots, but they do look nice.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement in that I will need to see them in person to see if they are going to be annoying, because they do obviously take up a lot of real estate on the playfield of your view. And there's like coloured inserts and everything underneath them. So I don't know. We'll have to see before I'm going to put judgment on that. But I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for me.
Storm cup in a no. What's the saying? Storm in a teacup.
Storm in a teacup.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Magnets.
Yes, so now my understanding is that there's one on the Pro and there's 3 on the Premium and LEs. That's correct.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And so does that mean that they can have some magnet trickery on the Premium and Pro?
Well, I mean, one magnet can still do a lot if it's programmed correctly. Like I think Iron Man has one and it really throws the ball around crazy.
Yeah.
But 3 you can play a lot of do a lot of tricks. I have a feeling it's there on the Pro Mainly, well, okay. I think they can use it in two ways. One is that when group multi-ball starts and he kind of like vomits 4 balls onto the place,
Yes.
I think a lot of them are almost going to go straight down the middle. So if a magnet kind of is timed right, it can throw it somewhere else, and then people won't complain about that. But it's also next to an insert that says Magnaforce, and it's next to Thanos' hammer, his all-powerful hammer that he uses to kind of kill people and snap their neck and do all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. Is there going to be a multi-ball or something where you're battling, or a wizard mode perhaps, that you're battling Thanos and not Thanos, Ronan. God, Thanos is the evil guy in the chair. Ronan is the guy. Anyway.
So are you trying to say whether there's actually some interactivity and you can control the magnets?
No, I don't think you can control the magnets, but is it going to be like a multi-ball, like Addams Family, or dialed in where magnets are just throwing the ball around like crazy?
Yeah.
Or is it just used to kind of like the magnet in X-Men, where you start multi-ball, it throws them all down, it grabs them, and then it spins them around?
Right. So imagine if you've now got 3, because from the Addams Family to now, the magnets, I was going to say they're more intelligent. They're not. They're just fucking dumb magnets. But you just seem to be able to do... just seem to be able to do a lot more as far as ball physics go. And so if you've got 3 of them, are you able to actually interact between the 3 magnets?
Yeah, but I'm not sure how that... I mean, with one ball, you can kind of do some cool... I think they showed it, like one ball kind of dancing around in a circle.
Yeah.
But when you have 2, do they kind of just like clam together and...
Who knows?
I don't know. Anyway, so we're just guessing again because we haven't seen...
We are, and hours after this podcast goes live, someone's going to show video footage of what the magnets do.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. The last kind of, I guess, toy is the Rocket Kickback. So it's very similar to the War Machine Kickback.
It is practically War Machine.
Yeah. And I think on the Premium Alley, Rocket, the raccoon guy, is kind of like either on a solenoid or a spring, so he's going to be moving while the ball kicks back, which I think is almost a waste of the bill of materials. Well, because what happens when you hit the War Machine shot in Iron Man? You shit yourself because the ball's at your flipper in like 0.1 of a second.
Correct.
And so you're not sitting there looking at the I guess it's just for show, just like the LCD screen. You're not watching
it. It is, but if they hadn't done it, again, people would have gone, they should have made him do something rather than just stand there, and I will go and look and find a Hasbro toy of that.
Okay. It's like it reminds me a bit of like Paul Stanley, is it? On the Kids Game in LA.
Yes,
he like rocks side to side going,
That is so bad.
I know you can't see me, but I'm imitating him right now.
I can, in my mind, I can see you right now doing it. So...
All right, that's enough on the toys. What else we got?
So we're talking about layout, and we talked about it before. I do think it is more Iron Man than Metallica. But let's face it,
I disagree.
I know you do, and we've had a lot of chats about it during the week. And I've seen people mention Iron Man as much as Metallica.
Why? What's the same thing in Iron Man? The
two ramps? The 2 ramps, and let's call it the War Machine kickback. The orbits. There's a lot there.
Okay.
And I know that the
wait. Okay.
Go.
In defense, Metallica, the 2 ramps, very similar.
Yes.
The bash toy in the middle.
Yes.
The pop bumpers in the exact same spot.
Yep.
The orbits, the crank it up scoop.
Yep.
And yay double scoring little side shot thing. There's more Metallica in there than Iron Man.
Yeah, and
those 2 unique shots on the leftmost and the rightmost.
But do you understand? Do you understand how shithouse this argument is?
Yeah,
we are both trying to say how much derivative this machine is. That is just a terrible state of affairs. I, as you know, when I first saw these images, because we'd said last week, I remember I said last week, let's put up a poll that says which game is it going to be almost exactly like that they've previously done. And so when I first saw these images, I just went, oh no, please don't. And I can't remember how many times I said it last week. I said, please Stern, please surprise us. And they really didn't surprise us. But I flip-flopped on that.
let's go on their last couple of releases. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, people are saying, is very much like Metallica.
And
Star
Iron Man.
Wars and Iron Man. Star Wars is very much like every Steve Ritchie game ever created.
Yep.
Aerosmith equals
Kiss.
Kiss.
Yep.
Batman 66 is Batman Dark Knight.
Yep.
Well, and Tron, you've put in a little note here. Tron equals Funhouse. Very funny. But do any of those machines play like each other?
No, they don't. And I was having this discussion with somebody when I was saying about Star Wars. So yes, you look at Star Wars and everyone said that Star Wars is just like, I think the biggest comparison was AC/DC. I don't even remotely think about AC/DC when I'm playing Star Wars. It just plays so completely different. And when you step up to it, it doesn't even look like AC/DC. So I get that you can have a playfield that somewhat resembles a previous machine that gives you a new experience.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and I think they play extremely differently. But the only thing I'll say is that there's a certain shot familiarity that you have with, say, a Steve Ritchie game. I know that on pretty much every Steve Ritchie game, I can backhand the left orbit, but I can't really backhand the right orbit. I can backhand both ramps, right? On ACD, Star Trek, Star Wars. So those shots seem familiar, and they're not super unique shots, those ones. The bit that I feel a bit weird about with this machine is there's a unique shot in Metallica, and I'm pretty sure it's unique. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that fuel shot where you slam it in there, you can slam it in there every combo you make to cash it in, or you can start double scoring that way. And then it hits that target, makes a sound, and it puts it perfectly in the rightmost left in lane, if that makes sense. There's the two left in lanes, the right one, and it feeds it to the flipper. Now, if that shot feels the same, I think it detracts a little bit from the uniqueness of Metallica, right? There are some pinball machines, we're playing AFM on the weekend. The lock shot on AFM.
AFM being Attack from Mars.
Yes. You don't have to, come on, mate.
Some people don't know what AFM is.
Well, why listen to a pinball pod? You just Google it, AFM. Okay, Attack from Mars, right? 1995 Bally Williams pinball machine. The lock shot to light lock is this beautiful shot where you hit it up this very kind of narrow shot, and then it disappears for a split second behind the saucer, and then it travels up to the right, and then it comes down. And for some reason, the sound of the lighting and the way the ball flows is this beautiful shot, and it's unique to that pinball machine. Bally Williams kind of like never really copied and pasted stuff. This section and the crank it up scoop is kind of like a copy and paste. And as I said, they're not orbits, because orbits, they're almost all the same on all pinballs. I don't know. That's the part that I'm weird about. The rest of the machine, the software, all that kind of stuff, it'll play totally different. But that shot will have to be placed exactly the same position on the flipper. So does that make Metallica's shot less special?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It could be 2 millimeters different to the previous one, and that could make it feel different because it is on the different part of the flipper. I get what you're saying, and it comes back to, I guess what we're saying is that have they really run out of ideas?
Well, they've either run out of ideas, or Metallica is such a well-received pin that people love playing and love shooting. Why not build off that? Kind of like Kiss. Kiss, I think, shoots great, but the software, for me, leaves a little bit to be desired. So what have they done with Aerosmith? They've kind of copied and pasted, altered, and they've made something better, right? So
it comes back to what I said to you in the middle of the week. After seeing the pictures, I was absolutely bagging it to anybody that would come within 5 feet of me, and even those, I was just gutted. I just was really disappointed that it was just Stern by numbers, Borg by numbers. It was just so derivative. And about halfway through the week, I sent you a note saying, I think I want to get a Guardians of the Galaxy. Am I stupid? And you said, no, I'm not stupid. And the reason being is that I love Iron Man, but I don't love the rules. I love Metallica, but I've played it to death. So if I love both those machines and I love the layout, why wouldn't I love Guardians of the Galaxy? It's kind of like it's a best of with this great art. Maybe I should get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to allow you to buy it until we see the software, because that's the number one sin in buying a pinball machine.
Well, yeah. I mean, we obviously have the Lonnie factor.
Well, hey, is Lonnie now like more, desired than, say, well, I mean, Lyman Sheets obviously is like taking forever, but we know he's going to produce some good stuff. Dwight Sullivan is on like a crazy multiplier binge at the moment. He's on his little business trip, and there's video modes in there which I don't personally like too much, but that's a different story. Lonnie is actually capable of producing a solid rule set, right? You don't like
Aerosmith?
Yeah. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think they're great rules on that.
Okay. Do you like Tron?
Oh, if I say no, everyone's going to write in and hate me. But I'm not a fan of Tron.
Okay. Well, okay, that's Lonnie plus Lyman.
Okay.
You said you don't like Iron Man. That's Lonnie plus Lyman. Do you like Star Trek?
Oh, I love Star Trek.
Okay, but that's Lonnie plus. But you like the metal things is what ties it all together, and that was Dwight Sullivan, I believe.
Right.
So I don't know. Is someone going to help him finish the machine, or if it's all him, then I don't know. Write in head2headpinball@gmail.com. What is the best Lonnie game? And I know he has people helping him, but if it's not a major coder, kind of like Dwight and Lyman, where you can really kind of see the spin they put on it. That's fine, as long as it's not those two helping him out. What is the best Lonnie only game?
Well, when we're speaking of software, and when we were talking about it today, and I said that I was watching a video that came out of the Stern Indiana Jones that's got new code on it, and so thank you, Steve Bowden, Fubby Bonus, for linking that. And I think that software can actually change a game. So if you've got, as we've said, this Iron Man Metallica layout, and it's got new things that are prioritized that you're aiming for, it can actually change a game.
Sure, there's plenty of awesome layout pins with average software. There's some average layout pins with really good software. This has, I think, a looks like a fun layout. So all it needs is software to come along with it, and it looks nothing like what Iron Man and Metallica are. I mean, Metallica is literally doing four things over and over again and bashing your head against a wall, and it somehow it's fun. I love Metallica, right? This is a mode-based game. It looks like there's 8 modes that you're running through. And
that's what I was saying to you during the week. I said, it's the one thing that I don't necessarily love about Metallica is that I like mode-based games. So if you've got everything that I loved about Iron Man, everything I loved about Metallica, and then add modes to it, maybe you've actually got now the perfect Borg.
Well, we'll see. We didn't see any video footage, so we have no idea what it's going to look like. If it's going to kind of look like that cartoony Aerosmith thing, or if it's going to look more like Batman, where they're kind of looping videos, or Star Wars, where they're kind of, got a cockpit area and showing videos when you hit certain shots. I don't know. I'm meant to be the immature one, Marty. Jesus Christ. God.
So before we then go into the models and pricing and all that kind of stuff, right, which we're going to go into, would you say right now, Stern, it's a hit or a miss for them, just based on what you know, just by looking at it?
I think it's a definite hit in terms of the presentation of the pinball machine. I think it's a miss in terms of people's reactions, and it is literally just a victim of the current market situation we're in, right? They revealed this right after Jersey Jack, right? So Jersey Jack has showed this kind of like crazy innovative pin that people it's stuff on there that people have never seen. Jam-packed, you can't fit more stuff on there, right? This is probably the best thing they could put up against it, but it was literally only 2 weeks ago, and I understand now why they didn't want to kind of show this at Expo, because people got to flip that machine and play it. Obviously, this machine isn't ready yet software-wise, so they can't show it in that way. I think Star Wars wasn't a great reveal, but it has 40 years worth of nostalgia, right? This movie came out in 2014. So that's 3 years for people to say, I really like that, and I've liked it for 3 years. 3 years is not long enough. for nostalgia to hit critical point, it needs to be about 20 years. I read an article on it this week.
It's been scientifically proven.
Yeah, it has. There's literally been, like, I read, actually, I skim read it. I read like the title and the first paragraph. I'm not gonna sound too smart, but they did a test, and people think about the best years of their life about like 20 years previous. It's like they did a study.
Okay.
So when something was really hot 20 plus years ago, that's when you're in the peak nostalgia zone. Okay. So you don't have people say, "Hey, I watched this when I was a kid." You get none of that. You just say it's hot right now. I like it. It's fun.
Well,
does that answer your question?
Yeah, I would say that I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, because for me, 80s was the best, and that wasn't 20 years ago. But move on.
Okay. I'm going to find the article and I'm going to read over. I'm actually going to read it like properly.
Please do.
All right.
So how much would one expect to pay for these machines, Pro, Premium, and LE?
I didn't write down the US prices, but they're exactly the same as what they were before. In Australia, the Pro is 8.35K. The Premium is 10.8. The LE is $12,350. Now, the Premium price, which is weird, is exactly the same as the Star Wars Premium price. The Pro and the LE are $150 cheaper, which is what the price was before Star Wars, but it's like Star Wars just, commanded $150 more on the Pro and LE level, which I find very weird, but that's what it is. In America, they've got the street price and the normal price. I think it's $6,000 for the Pro, but you can get it for like $5,200, I believe, which, hey, that's good value in the US for, there's nothing else on the market that costs that much. Is the cheapest pin that you can get. Am I right?
Yeah. So are you saying that okay, so you're saying in Australian dollars it's
$8,350 for the Pro, yeah.
Okay. So that's not too bad, right? Because
it's still expensive. I mean, you can get some of the best Stern pinball machines like Simpsons and Lord of the Rings less than that. But for a new pinball machine in Australia, it is, what's the closest one? A spooky pinball machine is like 10 grand.
Yep.
So that's $1,500 cheaper than a spooky pinball machine.
Jersey Jack, what's the entry level for Jersey Jack?
Like 13,000 or something.
Yeah. So
no one even gets them. People get the LE, which is like, well, it was 14, but now it's like 14,700 or something crazy.
Yeah. And obviously we've talked about that there's a lot more that goes into a Jersey Jack machine, but I think for the Pro, and particularly on these, and we'll probably come out to that as well, the whole Pro versus Premium LE, there's a lot in the Pro for 8,000 that you would be happy with.
John Borg is like a double agent, and he's actually working for the community because all of his Pro pinball machines are absolutely fantastic value.
Yep.
I think someone said in an interview, like some designers design the LE first and then they take out certain things for the Pro, whereas John Borg designs the machine first as a Pro and then he adds stuff on. Okay. And this has no upper playfield, so it's not like Aerosmith where it's going to be a little bit different. I think you're gonna get almost the exact same experience on both models. Hey, the toys are a little bit different. The hands are there, the orb opens up and it closes, but the shots are all the same. Am I right?
Yeah, it looks like that way. The only thing is obviously those 3 magnets, which I am sure are going to play a very important part in this game.
Yeah, but they're not always activated. It's not like the...
No, I know. I'm just trying to create a bit of controversy.
It's like CDC on Walking Dead, for example, where the ramp lifts up and actually stops the shot, and it kind of like stops people from looping it, so you get a different experience in that mode. I think most of the modes are going to be the same.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, let's quickly go. Okay, so what does the Premium have over the Pro? Do you want to go through it, Marty?
Well, as we said before, you get the Groot arms, which some people are not happy about, but we'll see how we go. You get the Rocket figurine. He's actually on a coil and a spring, so he moves. The orb opens.
The testicle?
Yes. As we said, you've got 3 magnets, RGB pop bumpers, you get spinners. Now, this is the thing as well.
No, let's not talk about spinners.
No, I'm just going to say this, right? I know you lose your shit over the fact that it doesn't have spinners, right? Because you're all about Who gives a crap? Honestly, no. But when was the last time spinners in a game actually mattered?
I like the sound they make.
No. When do they actually matter?
They matter to the experience, Marty.
I get that, but I just wish they actually made spinners mean something, be worth something. So rather than just hitting a ball,
World Cup Soccer, Super Spinner.
yeah, but it's still not worth all that many points. But you understand what I mean? Like I know you. We've been texting all week, and then no spinners. Oh, damn that Stern taking those spinners away from the pro.
I did not say that. What the fuck?
No, I know. I'm just making stuff up. Just but a lot of people have lost their shit over the fact that the pro doesn't have spinners. I kind of agree, and I like the motion that the spinner has and the effect and the sound. But for what point? There's actually no point to spinners these days.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something.
Go.
When I think I mentioned this on the last podcast when we were doing the interview with Michael Hull, Time Bandit.
Yep.
When I played Metallica Pro, because the first Metallica I played was an LE, and it was an LE with a Pinball Pro sub. And when you hit each orbit, you hear this amazing do-do-do-do-do-do. It's like I don't know, it's a guitar or something. It just sounds amazing, right?
Sure.
When you hit the orbits on a pro, nothing happens, and it's an empty shot, and it doesn't feel good because the sound feedback doesn't exist, right?
Yep.
If it existed with a switch, they could play a sound, but a spinner repeats the sound, right? And we saw what effect that had on Magic Girl. On Magic Girl, it wasn't programmed right, and it repeats in the wrong kind of fashion, and it's all mumbled together. It doesn't stop the previous sound. Spinners, the right spinner with the right sounds. The spinner on Tron, right, when you have Super Spinner on, is amazing. It's angelic. It's why shots feel good. Shots feel good because of the way the ball flows, but they also feel good because of the sound feedback you get.
I know, and it comes back to the different angles that we look at these things. If it is not going to get me a high score, I don't care. I will hear it the first time and go, yep, that sounds amazing, I love it. But as soon as I realise that a spinner actually has no value, I don't care about it anymore.
Well, how about pop-ups? Just take out pop-ups as well then. They do nothing.
Absolutely agree. Well, no, that's not true.
Pop
bumpers. Well, yeah. So if you think about pop bumpers on Game of Thrones and then Ghostbusters, that was a fantastic way to make them mean something.
Useful.
So maybe
he did it on Star Wars as well.
Yeah. So maybe then a spinner could actually be like a random award. So as it's flicking through, it's actually going through these different random awards and then settles on one. Bang! There you go. Extra ball.
I'm satisfied with just the sound. Okay. Even though I said all that crap, right? I know you're thinking that I'm crazy, and I'm sure some people are agreeing with me, some people aren't. I don't give a shit if they're not on the pro because I'm not buying this machine, so I really don't give a fuck at all, right? I'm presenting the argument.
No, I understand.
If I was to buy one of these, I would feel like I'm missing out on something special. If there's a good sound associated with it, if there's a shit sound, like I don't know. I don't think the Aerosmith sounds like a creaking sound, like they're cranking up something.
Yeah,
that's not satisfying to me.
No, I'm absolutely. I've got to tell you, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. My argument is what I'm trying to put out there is to these people making machines. When you've got your spinners, just actually make them mean something. Like they transformed the pop bumpers. Pop bumpers were just then you get super pops, and then each pop bumper is worth, instead of 1,000 points per pop, it's 1,005. No one gives a shit about pop bumpers.
Wait. The Hobbit. When you get to Erebor.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That needs something, but I guarantee you fucking skip that mode and you hit the captive ball to end that mode straight away.
I do.
Yes. Yeah, yep. See? Bullshit.
No.
You can crank up a crazy amount of points, right? And then you hit the captive ball and you cash it in. But I bet you, you said you get.
It's just such a risky shot. That's why.
Okay. Yeah.
Unless you get the orbits.
If you want points, Marty, you got to earn them.
No, I understand. All I'm saying is, with the spinners, just make them mean something rather than it just being these arbitrary small points and a beautiful sound. That's great. I understand that adds to the experience, but as a tournament player, as a comp player, if it doesn't actually mean much as far as points go, I'm not really all that bothered anymore.
Well, But you can say that about like this. We're getting into the stupid territory here. But then, like, why does a pinball machine have flashes? You don't get any points from flashes, so they just take out all the fucking flashes.
No, but
it's the experience, right?
But the flashes tell you when you've done something great, and it's worth points.
The spinner tells you when you've ripped it and you've fucking hit a good shot. Oh my god! All right. Well, as I said, I don't give a shit. But this is the argument that people might present, right?
I understand.
Okay. Oh my gosh, spinners. Okay, I'm going to take over this list because you're fucking diving too deep into this. All right, we got the premium having over the pro, 2 ramp decals, steel support rails instead of pegs, RGB inserts on all the inserts, not just the arrows. There's a bit of confusion about that, and I haven't properly read up about it, but I think the feature matrix might have been wrong. People thought it was wrong, so I'm actually sure which inserts have RGB on them, between the Pro and the Premium, and color changing GI red, white, and blue. The LE has over the Premium. Not too much, just like most LE machines. You got Gary Stern's signature, hooray. You got John Borg's signature. That is on the apron. Am I right? Yeah, that's on the apron. One other thing that I forgot to mention. It's really nice in the artwork that he's actually written down on each of the machines that it's an LE, it's a Premium, or a Pro on the machine. So I know people always say, oh, what machine is this? I'm like, it's right there. Like, I'm now going to point to Chris Franchi machines and say, like, he fucking put it there. So don't ask me this. Because it is confusing. You walk up to a machine, some people don't know much about pinball machines, and say, which one is this? It's right there in the artwork. What else? You get a numbered plate. You get a shaker motor. Hooray! They're listening. Well, I mean, they'll just take it out of the next one, but they're listening. You have the poo mustard gold armor. This is the thing. This is the thing, right?
This is that baby diarrhea.
Oh, no. Like, okay, they call it gold, but unless you were actually like plating gold, like what color is gold, right? It's like a yellowy color. They can't do yellow. They do this like,
let's face it, it's beige.
Beige. Unless you plate it gold like people do with like Indiana Jones and stuff, which costs like a crazy amount of money. Like I know someone who did like, 24 karat plating on an Addams Family Gold. It looked amazing, right? But they're never going to do that with a pinball machine. And they make it look as good as they can in pictures. But when you get it, like the Medieval Madness remake, I'm sorry, it doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look as gold as what people thought it was going to look. Am I right?
Yep, absolutely agreed.
Okay, you get a different side art. Obviously, you get the inner art blades, which I think look pretty damn cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
And you get a mirrored back glass, and it's unique to the LE. So that's a lot of stuff that Star Wars didn't have. But the argument always is, do you just then, because people don't really like the armor all too much, not everyone, but some people, are you better off just getting a Premium and spending, well, in Australia, it's almost, $1,500 on customizing your own stuff and creating your own limited edition that's unique to yourself?
Obviously, it's going to be up to the individual.
Yeah, it's all about personal taste. All the stuff that we're saying that we don't like, you might like, and that's absolutely fine. No one has to have the same opinion in pinball. And all the stuff we're talking about as well, I just, reiterate, I don't give a shit about, because to me, it's mostly about the rules, which we know absolutely nothing about. And all these things are pointless. Like, you have the world's best art, but if they don't complete the code within like 3 years, the owners are going to be ripping their hair out of their head like they are with other titles.
So in sort of recent Sterns as well, between the Pro, the Premium, and the limited edition, the sort of the popular consensus really has been that the Premium is probably the one to go. What would you think about with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well, I would never buy a Premium because to me, like, money matters. Okay, I'm not earning like a shitload of money at the moment, right? So
sure.
If I spend that much money on a pinball machine, I want it to hold its value. Our, good mate bought a Star Wars pinball machine, played it, put 100 games on it, didn't like it, sold it for exactly the same amount he paid for it.
Yep.
If he bought a Premium, he lost $1,000 in a week, right? It's a fact, because no one's going to buy a secondhand Premium for the same amount, because you can buy one for like 3-4 years. They're still making Metallica Premiums.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Try and sell a Metallica Premium for the exact same amount that you bought it for. On the other hand, the LE has gone up in value because you cannot buy it. And it doesn't matter if it isn't, the value isn't there. It's if everyone agrees as a group that they want that machine because it is better and is limited, which is it's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But it exists in the market. So I would never buy a premium myself because I don't like to lose that much money when buying a pinball machine.
Yeah.
And potentially selling it.
So, and I get that. So it depends on whether you're wanting to have it for resale or whether, your primary thing is that, you might be a bit budget conscious and you just want the full gaming experience, then maybe the premium is for you. I've talked about it many times before. I personally would go a limited edition over a premium, but I think in this particular case that the premium is still a very good value proposition.
Yeah. As I said, I mean, the stuff that I just mentioned, that's just for me. A lot of people absolutely have no problems buying a premium because you are getting $1,000 or whatever the price difference is, where you can either save that and not spend it on the pinball machine, or you can spend it customizing. And hey, if you lose $1,000 or $2,000 selling a pinball machine, who gives a shit? This is like your hobby, and you're fine doing that. Me personally, it would stop me from buying a lot of pinball machines if I didn't get back very close to what I paid for it. And I've been doing it for 3 years, and I've never been burnt on a purchase yet because I'm very careful in what I buy.
You are indeed.
So,
licensing.
All right. So this is, well, we should have probably led with this, but this is only this is based off movie number 1 only, which I thought was originally a bit of a bummer because the second movie, Marty, it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those, I'll say rare, but, I often worry about a sequel to a fantastic film, and this one was as good as the original. In some regards, it was better.
Yeah, well, I just rewatched the original one, and I was in the same camp, but now I'm starting to lean more towards that the original might be slightly better, just because it's a little bit more serious. It's still very fun, but I think the second one kind of jumped the shark with some of the jokes, like that Pac-Man scene where he's fighting his father. I thought they didn't need to do that. So this is a 2004 bit of intellectual property, and it's kind of, I'm not sure, we can only speculate why it doesn't encompass both movies. Obviously, they have to get these deals locked down in advance to kind of design the pinball machine. But, Jersey Jack released Pirates of the Caribbean, and it has 5 movies in there. And Eric said in an interview with, I think it was Spooky Pinball that I listened to, another podcast, they said that when the machine was designed, Eric got sent a script to kind of like to feed off that information. And it was like a self-destructing script, and but it was there. So I don't think that's possibly an excuse with Guardians. Maybe it's a cost issue, or maybe it doesn't matter. But
it just doesn't mean it's like for like. Just because one film company did it doesn't mean that they're going to do it again.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, actually, they're both Disney.
Yeah, I understand that, but they might have different producers, they may have different licenses with all the characters. You just don't really know. And, the second movie is, relatively new. When did the last Pirates of the Caribbean come out?
I think it's almost around the same time. I don't know. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a little bit newer. You're right.
Yeah.
It's
so maybe they just haven't bedded down their licensing deals. And then there's the whole old Groot versus young Groot and all that kind of stuff, and again, that's another thing people have gone, oh, why have you got the old Groot? And
little Groot is there on the front of the alley. If you look on the bottom left-hand corner, he's there. I actually like old Groot more because he's like saved all of them and sacrificed himself, and he's just badass. The little Groot is cute and everything, but for the whole movie, he was kind of not useless. But anyway, actually, no, he did save him again as well. The reason why I think it's a bit weird is because the second movie kind of supersedes the first movie in importance. I mean, obviously it's an origin story of the whole Guardians and how they get together, but, like Yondu's the kind of the bad guy in the first one. In the second one, he's the hero. The villain. Yeah. Well, I mean, the villain is trying to kill, Peter Quill with the Infinity.
Yeah, it's a redemption movie.
Yeah. Whereas you find out that he's like part God, right? So he kind of can't be killed. Anyway, it is what it is. It's not like a make or break, but What else are we going to talk about in licensing? Benicio del Toro is not in the game. So some people are complaining that one of the shots is the Booker, I think it's called. Brooker? Brooker.
Yeah, Broker.
Yeah. Whatever. The guy, he's like almost irrelevant in the movie. And people said, well, it should have been Benicio del Toro's, the museum collector guy. And Christopher Franchi actually came on, I think it was Facebook, I saw a post saying that he wasn't part of the deal. He explicitly implied in his contract with Marvel and Disney that he'll be in the movie, but he is not going to be part of any merchandising at all. So that's just part of the deal.
Well, he has artistic integrity.
You're saying these other guys don't?
Well, I'm saying he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy film.
Are you saying they're gagging for cash?
I'm saying maybe he should be.
The biggest point that people are talking about in terms of the license are the songs.
I know.
The songs in this movie are almost the most important part compared to any other movie.
I kind of agree. Normally I don't really care that much about the songs, but and even though I don't necessarily love the songs, I've looked at the soundtrack and what songs are there. I'm not necessarily loving them, but that importance they played on that mixtape that he had and the songs that were playing within it was a really, really important part, because it was this really massive contrast between the old school songs versus the futuristic setting. It sort of really was a nice glue for that movie.
Yeah, and I'll quickly read out a post on Pinside from a user called Pezpunk, because I could pretend this is like my own thought, but it's really just, I'll just prefer to read out his. He said it perfectly for me, and this is before they knew that there's going to be 2 songs on there, 2 licensed songs. So this is him thinking that there's none. All right, he wrote, "No classic rock from the soundtrack. Normally I wouldn't care, but this particular movie is a special case. Those tunes were a huge part of the main protagonist's character. Peter risked his life multiple times for that music. The tape and those tunes represent all that he has left of his mother. They were her gift to him, and he is racked with guilt over fleeing from her deathbed, and his devotion to that music is his way of making up for that and maintaining his connection to her. Every major emotional moment of the film is backed by a particular 70s pop song, because it's such a huge part of what makes him tick. The soundtrack has a lot of meaning to this movie, and I'm sad it's apparently not represented here." Well, as I said, there's 2 songs. They'll probably be stacked into some multiple. I can't see it being in one of the 8 modes, because that would make it mode more special than the other. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it until I actually play the game, because like Iron Man doesn't have any, licensed music on it, but it still sounds freaking cool when you're playing, and you still feel like you're fighting a battle. I don't know. Yeah,
I know. As I said, I kind of agree with Pezpunk in that I think that the music in this game, in the movie, just had a bit of an emotional connection with a lot of people that were watching this film. So I think that it's...
Well, there's the nostalgia, right? Like we're talking about, it hasn't been enough nostalgia, but that's what people get the nostalgia from, because they're watching a new movie with, music from their childhood.
Correct. So it is, and as I'm saying,
we figured it out.
That's exactly right. Anyway, so yeah, I would have liked them to have had more songs. I think either have no songs or have all of them. I don't know about this whole 2 songs, but
Jesus Christ.
I know there's a lot, but have more than 2. But again, that's probably all the checkbook Gary could actually authorise. He's got a limit on what he can actually pay.
Well, guess what? There's a thing called the Pinball browser. I'm pretty sure it works on Spike. Does it work on Spike? Actually, wait, Batman game. I don't think anyone's done. People have done a lot of work on The Walking Dead. If they can do the same work on Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think someone will be talented enough to do, I think there's about 12 songs on the soundtrack. There's 8 modes plus the multi-ball, so you can have one of the songs representing each mode. Will it fit the pinball machine and make it better or worse? We don't know. We'll see.
No, we don't know yet.
Oh my gosh, this has been like, an hour and a half of Guardians.
It's a very important release.
Yeah.
We've had, Jersey Jack with Pirates of the Caribbean. We spoke a lot about that when it came out, and this is another major release of the year, so I think it deserves our time.
The last thing we'll say is that initially people were kind of saying that Stern stole the logo of Total Nuclear Annihilation, and I thought it was a bit silly because, like Marvel are going in the kind of that direction with Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where you've got that kind of like new wave retro Outrun kind of feel. And I think some people thought that Total Nuclear Annihilation owns that kind of like that font style, and people kind of making fun of Stern. And then I found it hilarious that when Jersey Jack revealed the 1.5 code update, they released that style as a joke.
It was hilarious.
And then a couple of podcasts did it. And should we do it too, or has it already jumped the shark?
It's totally jumped the shark.
Okay,
we'll confuse some people. They'll think, oh, why are you changing your logo to that? It's already been done by Stern.
Yeah, it's silly. Anyway,
it was fun, and it was very funny when Jersey Jack did release their code update and it had the same logo. I think that was a nice little friendly jab.
They love doing it at the moment. They took a lot of jabs during the presentation of Pirates of the Caribbean without mentioning them. So yeah. I think it's fun because they can do it and they can get away with it. But if Stern tried to make fun of Jersey Jack, it's kind of like the big guy being a bully to the little guy, right?
Exactly.
But the little guy can do whatever he wants, right?
Exactly.
So they're in a good position to do that.
So there we go.
So the next thing we want to talk about quickly before this week in pinball is the 24 hours at the Sanctum. So there is a competition in the US, Marty, and I think we've talked about this before in one of our first episodes, where basically people enter a pinball competition and they play non-stop pinball for 24 hours, which is pretty crazy in my opinion.
It's a big effort from all those people, and I think it's like capped at 100 players or something.
Yeah, 100 players, and they play rounds where they play 4 players on 3 machines, and they got through, I think, 16 rounds, which is a lot. I think over 1,200 games were played. Wow. And I was kind of following this because we've got Ron from the Slam Tilt podcast and Tim Sexton of Slam Tilt fame, Tim Balls. Yes. And they were doing quite well. And Jeff Parsons from Pinball Players podcast. Anyway, Bowman was leading for most of the time, and it literally came down to the last game, and all Trent Augustine needed to do was to come first on the game, and for the opponent who was currently beating him to come last, and that's exactly what happened. So it literally, after 24 hours of playing, that guy would have been shattered because Trent Augustine ended up winning on blackjack by 1 point.
Wow.
And the fatigue that must set in after that long, because this is not like 12 hours of playing, you sleep, you come back the next day. This is 24 continuous hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never done anything like that. I think probably, maybe 8 to 10 hours is the longest I've played, and that's with breaks in between. Oh, that's They
do have breaks for getting lunch and stuff like that, but I don't think there's any sleeping breaks.
No, that's a long period of time.
Would anyone do this in Australia, Martin?
Well, Netherworld are about to do it. They've got something that's called Death by Pinball, and I think previously it was 18 hours, and they're about to go to 24 hours. So that's Netherworld up in Brisbane. Yeah. So, and I know some people that have gone to the Death by Pinball before. Some people from Melbourne that have gone up, and obviously some people that have been in Brisbane. And it's 18 hours is a killer. Add another 6 hours on top of it. You're already in a state of delirium. Do you think people are actually still having fun while they're doing it, or do you think it's more of the whole marathon thing where hey, we did it together, we went through the shit and we came out the other side and we're still alive? The people I've spoken to have said they've loved it, and they've loved it all the way to the end. Admittedly, they get very tired, they get very sore, they get very weary, but it's fun all the way to the end. And particularly with this one, if it's all coming down to the last game, and I was watching Bowen Karen's Facebook feed, and he was sort of giving us a blow by blow on how, and I think he ended up coming fourth and sort of got knocked out towards the end. I think that would be pretty exciting all the way to the end.
Would you do it? Would you, if there was one in Melbourne?
Absolutely.
All right, organise it. Melbourne Silver League.
God, we've got to do a heads up, and now we've got to do a 24-hour.
We don't need to actually do these things. You just have to pretend we're doing them.
And so, how did Ron go?
Ron came 7th, which was a great effort. I said 100 people, and there's some very good players in there. So Ron was in the. I think Ron was because basically I think in the last round you get grouped up into like the top 4 players play against each other. 5, 6, 7, 8 play against each other. But you can still sneak up into different groups. So Ron was in the 9 to 12 bracket, and he won. I think he won that last round, so he sneaked up to 7th. So
well, good on you, Ron. Well done. And
yeah, and we disappointed in Bruce not being there.
He didn't go.
No, he didn't go. He was too busy working on something really not important at all, like his bar opening,
like the Silver Ball Saloon. Yeah, fair enough.
This week in pinball.
Oh, I love it. So we did something together. At the very last minute, you sent me a photo. You sent me a very intriguing photo, and it was you getting makeup done.
Yeah, baby.
and of course, my initial reaction was, what the fuck?
You did write that. Yeah, so there was a Halloween or pinball Halloween party going on, and I enjoy Halloween probably more than the average Australian. I know it's huge in the US. It is still gaining popularity every year in Australia. Like, rewind 5 years ago, no one gave a shit about Halloween. Now you're starting to see more houses do it, but it's got a long way to go to be like the US, where everyone gets involved.
Well, we actually had near where I work, and that's in Wanturna, if anyone wants to know. There was actually you could probably call it a pop-up store because it was only there for a month, and it was a Halloween store, and it was, as let's say probably half the size of a football field, just for Halloween, and it was packed for weeks. People buying their costumes. So, yeah, Halloween is definitely becoming a thing here, but I was in San Francisco many years ago when Halloween was on, and I could not get over how big Halloween is over in the US. It's massive.
Yeah, I was spewing last year that I was in Chicago for kind of like early October, but not, if I stayed another 2 weeks, I could have experienced it. But I went to Walmart and I kind of saw everyone kind of ramping up and all the pumpkins outside. But one day I'll go there for Halloween and experience it. But yeah, there's a Halloween pinball party. I didn't think you were interested in going, and I forgot to mention it to you anyway, just to see if you were, until literally the last minute. And you said, "Yep, I'll come."
I got in my car straight away.
Pinball, yeah. So you were one of the many people that weren't, they just said, "Hey, pinball party, I'll come to that." And I was almost the odd one out with my outfit. I'll post some pictures so people know what I'm talking about. So I dressed up as the Saw guy from the horror movie Saw. I don't even know what his name is. I haven't watched this movie in a while. I just thought he looked cool.
Okay, here's a weekly surprise.
Yes.
I've not seen a single Saw movie.
Well, don't, because they suck.
Well, I've heard the first one's fantastic, but I don't like horror movies at all. I find them very off-putting, so I will never see a Saw movie. But I've heard the first one was fantastic. Very clever.
I don't mind a bit of horror and gore, but it's in limited quantities. Like, do you watch like Stranger Things? Is that too much for you? Or
Stranger Things isn't a horror. I love Stranger Things, although
the Demigorgons and don't spoil me. I'm 2 episodes away from finishing season 2, so don't spoil it for me.
No, all I'm saying is that I've only watched the first episode of season 2, and I kind of went, oh, is that it? I was expecting more.
Yes, I did the same thing. That's why I haven't watched it yet. And then it just builds and builds, and I'm in the zone now where I'm in episode 8, and it is. I'm like, oh my god, I can't.
Okay. Fantastic.
It.
Thank you. I will now continue to watch.
Okay. So Halloween party, awesome pinball machines. This guy is a Bally Williams worshiper.
He got them all.
Hates pinball machines. So what does he have? He has Medieval Madness. You're better at this, so you can list all the machines, right? Medieval Madness.
Yep. Attack from Mars. Scared
what was next to that?
There was
Toten.
Circus Voltaire.
No Circus.
Twilight Zone. Theatre of Magic, Twilight Zone.
Pinbot, Bride of Pinbot.
Yep. Indiana Jones, The Pinball Adventure, and brand new was, for his wife, was a brand new, absolutely beautiful looking Monster Bash.
Yeah, it was a restored Monster Bash that came up in Aussie Arcade a while ago, and I kind of helped him secure that because I know he was looking out for one as a birthday present for his wife. His wife's favorite machine. She plays it nonstop on the pinball arcade, and from that love, he kind of like tried to find one, and price has been creeping up, and we found one that was quite expensive, but in absolute kind of mint restored condition, and he's had that in his garage for like hidden for I think like 3 months.
No way.
Well, okay, when we were when you messaged me first to do the podcast when I was on my trip in Queensland, the day before, that's when he bought the machine.
That's ages ago.
Yeah, that's it's 16 weeks ago, and he's had it hidden in his garage, and his wife never found it, and he presented it to her on the night in front of everyone, and I just missed out on that moment by 5 minutes because I went to the wrong address, and yeah, it was a really good moment.
It was a great night, and a highlight for me was that something that very, very rarely happens.
Oh gosh,
I know. And something you were slightly embarrassed about, and therefore I made a big deal of, was the fact that I taught you something about a machine. And rules-wise, I taught you something.
Well, I'm pretty sure, Marty, that you know way more about certain machines than me. It's just you don't have verbal diarrhea like I do. And when I know something about a machine, I'm like, oh, hey, you're playing dialed in. Guess what? You can hit the scoop and you can do this, you can do that. And I want to teach people pinball. Whereas you're like the normal person. You just don't spew out words about pinball machines like I do.
But it's also, I know, well, this will be no surprise. I know a lot about machines that I've played a lot in tournaments, and the machine we're talking about is Scared Stiff. And what I taught you about was the coffin extender and the crate extender that you get from that spider grid at the back. You didn't know about that.
No, I always, whenever the spider bit happened, I was just like, oh man, this is so boring, and I didn't actually know what each of them did, and I thought it was just kind of like a mystery award.
Sure.
But I didn't know that it was so valuable in that when multiple ends, it just starts again. Yeah.
I know, and you did it, and when it came back, you went, "That's really cool. I'm glad I know that now."
Yes, thank you, Marty. So, I shouldn't have sold that pinball machine when I had it for like 2 weeks.
But I was genuinely surprised that there was something that you didn't know that I did.
Yeah. Well, if you know anything else, Mike, Sopranos, you know probably Sopranos inside out now. So when I get the machine, I want a private tutorial with you.
Oh.
Or wait a second, I could just watch your stream instead.
Well, you could. So, let's just segue onto my week in pinball. And I did stream The Sopranos twice. The first time because, we fixed a couple of the switches. Well, you came over and fixed a couple of switches and I wanted to play it some more. And then, every Sunday night I have a group of people that come over for the stream and they all voted to play Sopranos because it's not a game that necessarily comes up too often, and the ones that do come up aren't necessarily in good condition on site. And this Sopranos, which is your Sopranos, which was a secret but you've now confessed to your wife that it's coming, is in mint condition. So I've now played it.
Confessing to my wife that I'm coming.
Nice.
Horrible joke.
Well done. That was terrible. So I got to tell you, I have fallen head over heels in love with this machine.
Really?
I love it. And
you got really close to the wizard mode, but you haven't got there, right?
Yeah, so I've got 2 objectives, I think maybe 3 or 4 times now off the wizard mode. And it's much harder to focus when you've got a lot of people around you, screaming in your ear. Hi, James. I've got there a couple of times. I've sort of said before that it's a George Gomez, and it feels a lot like Lord of the Rings. But I also said to you that it reminds me of Attack from Mars. And when we were playing it on Sunday night, someone said, God, this reminds me of Attack from Mars. And I went, oh my God, I know, it really does. So it's one of these things, if you absolutely hate the theme, then don't bother. If you're indifferent to the theme or you like the theme, I think this is a really good value for money machine because it doesn't command a huge price that a lot of machines do. It's got good enough rules. They're deep enough. You wouldn't say they're complex, but they're deep enough. great layout, and plays well.
Do they have flashes that blind you?
It does.
That's something that I need. I need more of that in my life.
It does. And we've talked about this before. This machine was not designed for LEDs, and the flashes in this are absolutely blinding.
I'm going to try and change, when I get it into the house eventually, I'm going to try and change them to the originals and see if it makes it. Because I can see it on your stream. It's just that, I don't know, it's certain multi-ball. It's like you get a jackpot and it doesn't flash once. It flashes like, okay, well, one jackpot equals 10 flashes in your face. And every lane is a jackpot. So it just doesn't stop flashing in your face, right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I will say it's not as bad as Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, particularly I think that the LE, is way over the top. And that was designed for LEDs, so they've got no excuse there. Anyway, Sopranos, if you never took that to your home and just left it in my house, I'd be happy. I'm not going to buy it, though.
Well, you should buy Guardians, and then I can bring it in to my house.
Okay, done.
Done. Right.
The other thing that happened this week, and it's not pinball necessarily related, but I just wanted to put it out there to everybody that I saw Thor on the weekend, Thor Ragnarok, and it is just one of the best movies I've ever seen. It just does not take itself seriously. It's kind of like that whole Guardians of the Galaxy. There you go. There's the pinball reference. In that it's kind of this new generation of superhero sort of film where it just doesn't take itself too seriously. And I saw it at IMAX in 3D, and it was just spectacular.
You got a hammer that pulls you off, bro.
That character was fantastic.
One of the best characters ever.
Could they make Thor into a pinball?
No.
Why not?
It's too much because they've already done Avengers.
Oh, they could do the Revengers. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even get that reference. Oh wait, sorry. Was that when I watched it two weeks ago and I've already forgotten?
That's right. It's when he says we should form like a resistance and we should call ourselves the Revengers.
Who said that though?
I think it was that Gorn guy, whoever's the rock creature.
Okay. Yep.
Anyway,
all right. It's an amazing movie, and who knows if they'll do it? But I think people are comic booked out. I don't think they're going to make another Avengers based on the new movie, the Infinity Wars. But actually, they might, because they said they're not going to make an Avengers. So who else is left that's cool? They're not going to make another Spider-Man.
No, well maybe they could go to DC and they could do Justice League, because I just saw the trailer for that today. Looks great.
No, it doesn't. I guarantee that movie will be a piece of shit. And I'm not saying a piece of, I'm saying compared to Marvel, because Marvel have realized that all these freaking comic book movies, if you make them too serious, like, the good guy's going to win in the end, right?
Yeah.
He's never going to die. So just have a bit of fun.
And that's what was good about.
They're not going to kill Batman. They're not going to kill Superman, right?
No.
They're going to be in trouble, and they're going to solve it together. Right?
Yeah. Well, again, that's what I liked about Thor. It didn't take itself too seriously. But I think they could now make it, and maybe they wouldn't because they've done Guardians of the Galaxy, but the movie's now, another spoiler alert, it's now gone beyond just Thor. He's actually sort of assembled this group, if you will. And here's another fun fact. Cate Blanchett was freaking awesome in this, and I think she's a very ordinary actress, and she was amazing in it. There you go. How was your week?
How was my week? Okay, so besides the party, I wasn't going to go to the Argonauts monthly comp, which is that comp I've been going to where basically you play an unlimited amount of pinball for like 6 hours and, totally drain yourself, and then, not 6 hours, like 4 or something, and then see if you can make your way into the finals using the best game strategy. I decided not to go this week because I was going to be in the city, which was going to make it really convenient, and then I wasn't going to be in the city. So I sat home, and then I opened up Match Play Events on my computer, and I saw the scores rolling in, and then I started to get like really antsy. My wife is like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you looking at your computer pressing like F5? And like, what are you looking at?" I'm like, I kind of really want to jump into the city right now. I'm playing this comp. I feel really good. I'm not drained. I feel fresh. As I said last time, I kind of got a bit over it. She's like, go. I'm like, no, I've got to look after the kids and do all this stuff. And she's like, you're going to be useless. You're going to sit there and you're going to be like doing the thing you're doing now where you're kind of like squirming in your chair. Just please go. So I drove to the city. I arrived there 2 hours, I believe, after qualification start. So instead of having 4.5 hours to qualify. I had 2.5 hours, which doesn't sound that bad, but all these good players rocked up, and I thought it was going to be like a 20-person event when it's usually 35, but I think 35 people ended up rocking up. I was on a race against the clock, and the first thing I did, I was rushing to machines, and I was like playing the games excited. Like I played my first game on AC/DC. It lasted like 20 seconds, and I was like, okay, obviously you can't play pinball excited. You have to calm your nerves. So I started to pull in some good scores, but because I was racing against the clock, when there was half an hour left, I kind of made it to the top 8, the finals bracket, but people kept on having better games on their machines and kicking me out. And I was really trying to have a good game on Circus Voltaire because I hadn't played a good one on it yet. It's my machine. I really should be able to get the top score on it, which is, I think on the night was only 50 million. I can do better than that. And Stacey, our friend, was having this amazing game, the Tweak the Nipples guy. And he wouldn't get off. And all these machines were coming up. And you have to start your last game before 8 o'clock or 8:30, I think it is. 8:30.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, my God, Stacey, drain your ball. Like, let me get on there. We'll be in the finals together. And he didn't get off. So there was 1 minute left. And it was between AC/DC and Indiana Jones. They both came up at the same time. I already had a decent game on AC/DC. I hadn't played Indiana Jones. I jumped on there. I was so nervous. I pressed the start button twice. So I played my first ball and drained the second game. I managed to scrape in by having a decent game on IJ. I was very nervous the entire time, but I loved it. I was really in that moment. Just like I said the previous week when I was playing in Melbourne Silver Ball League at PAX, I enjoyed that nervous state for the first time. So this is the second time where I really enjoyed, trying to chase down a score. And I managed to finish equal 6. And the ironic thing is actually by getting that awesome score on Indiana Jones, I kicked Stacey out of the finals, which I felt really bad for. After he finished CV, he was in 8th position, and then I kicked him out.
He hates you now.
I ended up giving him the prize that I won at the end because I felt so bad. So I played in the finals. It was a 3 versus 6. So I versed Rob, and I managed to beat him at Metallica and AC/DC. He has a broken finger, so I think that's the reason why I won. And then we played in the finals. It was me, Luke, Richard, and Daniel Booth. And everyone was playing pretty bad. I mean, the highest score on Circus Voltaire in the first game was 10 million. That was the winning score. So it was set up pretty hard. But I managed to, after 3 games, come second, which I was really happy with.
Awesome.
I think I messaged you. I was pretty excited about coming second.
You were very, very pleased with that.
I don't ever want to win, I feel like. Because I feel like then there's an expectation, right? Where I'm happy just being in the top 8, top 4. It's fun.
Well, I've got to tell you,
I don't want any expectations.
I actually really don't get nervous in comps anymore, except when I've come first in a comp, and then everyone reminds me I came first and I've got to defend my title. That's when I get nervous. So it's actually
there's no defending second. I mean, it's just
no one remembers second.
Well, second place is the first loser, as Steve Ritchie reminds us in No Fear.
Exactly.
The other thing I did this week, today I got an Iron Man Vault edition. A really nice Iron Man Vault was delivered to my house today, Marty.
Did you? I asked you today, did you buy or did you borrow this? And you said, I can't tell you until the podcast. So okay. Did you buy or borrow this?
No, I'm not buying any other machine. Something miraculous has to happen to tempt Ryan to buy another machine at the moment. I'm off. The amount of people that message me saying, oh, Guardians, you going to buy one? I'm like, fuck no. Like, nothing is going to make me buy a machine at the moment. Like, you would have to pull out, like, some crazy, super limited Back to the Future, like coded by Lyman Sheets, designed by, I don't know, who's my favorite designer? Maybe Borg or something. You would really have to pull on all the strings perfectly to make me buy new.
I reckon if they made a Big Trouble in Little China, you would be pre-order LE for sure.
I fucking hate that movie. Oh my god! People have been talking about it. Canadians been going on about
film.
I asked Chanel. I'm like, Chanel, you know, like, did you watch it when you as a kid? Yeah, I did. Like, let's watch it together. Got it. Like, got halfway through, and you know when you like expect something to be funny and you smile, but then you like your cheeks start to hurt because you're forcing the smile, right? Half an hour in, I'm like, like when's the funny part gonna come? Like this is fucking weird and shit.
It
I don't
is
know.
awful. Anyway,
Maybe because I know a lot of people like it, but maybe because I didn't watch it as a kid, no nostalgia factor, just a weird movie. Maybe it wasn't a bad movie when I watched it. Anyway, Iron Man, just lending it. Someone I know has sold it. He's going overseas. So it's just being minded at my house. I'm allowed to play it. I like the machine again. I really didn't like the machine at all last time I had it because I sold it, obviously. I like it. I don't know how long that will last for because I know it can really get kind of annoying playing the same game over and over again because it's quite short and brittle.
Yeah, it is.
The inlanes are all the way in, and when I got it, I'm like, okay, I'll play for one day with the inlanes all the way in. I'll get into the mini wizard modes and stuff, and then I'll make it harder. It is still fucking hard. Oh my god!
It is a brutal game, and I've said like I would enjoy. I don't know. It's this weird thing. I would love to have it at home, but I don't know whether it would hold my attention. But when it comes to comps, I like it because I know and understand the rules very well, but it is a very brutal game.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it cranked up all the way now. So it's very fast. But I made Chanel play on a game, and it's like, didn't you have this pinball machine already? I'm like, yeah, it's alone. Don't worry. She played one game, and she started multi-ball. She started Iron Mongo multi-ball, and then all the balls drained within 15 seconds, and she just walked away. She's like, this is shit. It's just the same reaction that she had like 2 years ago when I had the pinball machine.
It's a very unforgiving game.
What's happening at the end of this week, Marty?
Well, we've actually got a big tournament in Melbourne. It's called Melbourne Match Play. It happens once a year, and it's sort of like I sort of say if we have if we had circuit events in IFPA circuit events in Australia, this would be one of them.
What is a circuit event? Is it just worth more, magical, whopper points or whatever it is called? What makes it a circuit event?
We'll go into that probably at a later stage in detail. You know what? When Rhoda Dave comes on board, he can give us a bit of a deal. But there are certain tournaments that are nominated as circuit events, and then you get the circuit event finals at the end of the year. Which yeah. So they're great. So it's kind of like the Grand Slam. So this is one of the major events in Australia. It's in Melbourne at the first time at the Golden Fleece in South Melbourne. And it's over 4 days. There's lots of events, including, I think on the Thursday there is a Flip Frenzy. We've talked about the Flip Frenzy tournament format before, which goes from 7 till 10:30. On Friday there's the Argonauts Pinball Open. And
Saturday's the main event, right?
Saturday's the main event, which is Melbourne Match Play. And as I've said to you before, you'll like this format because you are in groups of 4.
I won't like it because I won't be there.
Well, you would like it if you were there. So qualifying is on the Saturday. I believe finals are on Sunday. Yeah. There's also another Flip Frenzy on the Saturday night. And on the Sunday there is the Greg Berry Junior Cup for under 16s, which is it's got free entry, and that's a good one as well. And so
what events are you going to, Marty?
I can't remember what I've signed up for, but I believe I've signed up for the main comp, which is the Melbourne Match Play, and I believe I've signed up for the Flip Frenzy on the Saturday night.
Okay. Well, I can't do Saturday because it's my wife's birthday, so
I thought she agreed to let you come along.
Yeah, it was a trick. It was a trick.
Okay.
It was a trap.
Yeah. Yes.
No, it wasn't. But I talked her out of it because it's just one of those things where, as I said, she would say that I'm allowed to go, and then her girlfriends would be like, where's Ryan on your birthday? It's just dumb. It's not worth the pinball.
Yeah, no, don't do it. It is a trap.
Enough to ruin my relationship.
It's a massive trap.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I'll go on Thursday to the Flip Frenzy, and Friday I will probably go as well. Now, Sunday is the kids event. I'd like to bring my daughter to that, but it's 2 hours. I don't know if she can last 2 hours. I mean, we talked about in previous podcasts that she's really into pinball. She's not into it anymore. And she wants to go. She's like, I said the funniest thing. I should have recorded it. because I was trying to like get her excited about it, and I said, Dr. John and Emily is going to be there. And she's like, who's that? And like, remember that video that I showed you of that girl who's like so good, that she can, she's a bit older than you and she can beat her dad. And she's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm like, well, she's going to be there. Isn't that cool? And she's like, Dad, I don't want to talk to anyone when I'm there. I just want to win a medal. I'm like, holy shit.
She has got the spirit right there.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think she wants to win a medal by winning the competition. I've set her expectations low that there's going to be kids that are 15 years old that have been playing for 10 more years than her.
I've seen her play. She's very good.
Well, I think everyone gets a kind of a participation medal. Which,
yeah, of course they do these days.
Well, people can bag that as much as they want, but if it's going to help my kid, get into pinball more, then I don't give a shit what people think.
Bring it on.
Give it all, okay?
Well, there you go. So, no doubt next Monday when we release our next episode, we will give you a bit of a recount on the Melbourne match play, and hopefully I'll be able to announce that I've won it. It's very unlikely. I am not that good.
What do you think? Let's take a bet. You can choose one person. I choose one person.
Well, I'm going to choose John Treadaway.
John Treadaway?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to choose PJ.
Okay.
Simply because he sent me a video during the week where he was, what's it called? Tap passing on a stern.
He was on a kiss.
Yeah, I sent it to you and I'm like, holy fucking shit. I'm sure people have done it before, but I've seen tap passes on old games. I've never seen it
on a stern. Yeah,
and we'll like 10 times in a row. Not
it's
like
a bit of a skill. Yeah, I saw that. And you know what? There are people that coming up to these events will practice. They'll spend time. I just don't have the time, and I wish I did. It would improve my game, but I guess
J-Tread about it, and I said, you've been practicing? And he said, the practicing I've been doing is I've got exams coming up, because he's in like year 11 or something, right?
Yeah, he is.
So we'll see. He's got the home ground advantage, right? And so have you, and so have I. But I don't think it means that much when you're going up against like Brett Goodwin and PJ and all those guys.
Exactly.
Pat Nichols.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be good to see all those guys. And that's what I love particularly about these events, is that a lot of people from Australia come to these events, and it's once a year that I get to meet these old friends. So it'll be really good to see everybody.
Well, I might see you on Monday, Marty. We've left out the mail in this, but I'm just looking now. I think we got a couple of mail pieces. We got a really cool T-shirt design, didn't we?
We did get a great T-shirt design. We will sort of tweak it a little bit, but I think it's actually a really good option. People have actually been asking me a lot of times for, are we going to sell T-shirts? And we may at some stage. Just, stay tuned.
Well, I'm going to read out a quick email from Bjorn, because I think, was that after our last podcast? I think it was. Great podcast, guys. After listening to the show over the past 6 weeks, I decided on impulse to make a trek up from Canberra to Cooey Diggers for their monthly Flip Frenzy on Sunday, the 29th of October. I didn't realize how awesome tournaments were for new players, lapsed pinheads. And I had a great time. Keep up the great show. It sounds like you enjoy making them as much as we all enjoy listening to them. So thank you for that, Bjorn.
Yeah,
that's really good. We're making a lot of people go to tournaments, which is, I thought it was, I don't know, quite surprising. Some people still refuse to go. I'm trying to get that guy, Michael.
I know, cursed.
He's so against them. Oh my gosh.
I'm of the belief, really, that if people are sort of umming and ahhing about it, I'm trying to tell people, go along and experience. Don't worry, it's not going to be too crazy. If people are actually dead against it, then don't do it. You've actually got to enjoy what you do.
That's his rationale is that I held one at my party.
Yep.
That I had once, and he really hated playing pinball in that fashion because he was playing for score, and he said he's never stepped up to a pinball machine and tried to exploit any scores. He always tries to play the machine like a story and get to the wizard mode, and he doesn't, and that's why he bought Star Trek, and he stole Star Trek, because like he said, Star Trek is a perfect kind of like competition pinball where you really have to think about the score, and he didn't want a pinball machine like that.
Yep. And I totally get that. So I think just enjoy pinball the way you want to enjoy pinball. And that's what I'm saying with tournaments. They're not as scary as people think. I mean, some of them are really tough. And it's
24
very
hours
rare that
thing.
somebody goes along to a tournament for the first time and wins it, but it's happened. So there's no harm in going along, having a bit of fun, seeing what it's about, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to come back.
Let's wrap it up, Marty.
Let's do. Are you going to sing me out this week?
Well, let's talk about how people can connect with us. If they've lasted like over 2 hours, oh my God. Every freaking week, I sit there and I look at the show notes. I'm like, hey, we can do this in an hour and a half, and then we can build on that by shortening things down.
No.
And when I got to the last paragraph of the Guardians of the Galaxy show notes, looked up at the time and I'm like, oh my God, did we just talk for an hour and a half about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yep, we like to talk.
Oh my God. All right. So if you want to connect to us, you can jump on our website, head2headpinball.com. That's head, the number 2, headpinball.com. You can email us, suggestions, anything, head2headpinball@gmail.com. All of our links are on the website. There's a contact page there. You can connect with us on Facebook. I just posted a video about how much new pinball machines cost. Twitter,
I believe
Instagram,
they cost billions. Is that
billions
right?
and billions. I'm looking after the Instagram account, and I'm on a mission to get more likes than the Facebook account, which Marty mostly looks after.
And Twitter.
Even though, okay. Are you actually you're not posting anything on Twitter?
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram so I can win. Thank you.
It's not a competition. This is not head-to-head. Oh, well, it is.
Okay. All right.
So what are you going to sing me out this week?
Well, it's something to do with one of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm very keen. Yes, go.
Okay. Here we go. Getting down and dirty with the pussy on loader. He's got no people skills, but he's good with motors. That whipped him by his side and infantilized Sequoia. The two of them walk by. People say, oh boya. They ask why I'm bringing a baby into battle. That's really irresponsible. Then getting them rattled.
What's this from?
I say, give me a break. Get off of my back, damn it. I didn't learn parenting. My daddy was a planet. Zado Hasselfrau, Zado Hasselfrau.
How do you know these lyrics?
I'm reading them. No, but I've listened. I've had the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 soundtrack on my phone since the movie came out, and it is the best. And the last song, you will actually like this because you like cheesy Europop trash. It's Guardians
I do.
Inferno. Have you not listened to Guardians Inferno by David Hasselhoff?
I'm gonna have to.
I'm gonna link you to it right
Please
now,
do.
and you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. See
Bye,
you later,
everyone.
guys.